Welcome to the Roundtable Consult. I'm your host, Dr. Mark Williams, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, attorney Sonia Madison. Sonia, what's good in your world today?
Well, as you know, I am dictated by the weather, and this weather has been rainy all week, and so it has been a sad week, unfortunately, for me.
Sorry to hear that. I'm sorry.
Despite the nice little break, even though it was kind of a weird week with July 4th, because I guess you get off, but then the rest of the week is kind of like
It was kind of weird, wasn't it? It was Tuesday, I felt like it was Saturday, and I think Thursday I felt like it was Friday. I was like, what the world is going on? My whole week was off.
Yes.
I couldn't believe it, but I've been excited because I soon will get my new car. I did purchase a new vehicle. Yes, thank you. And I don't think Teresa approves.
Can I have the old one?
Sure, you can have it. It was totaled. It was totaled.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, it was totaled. But it was a good thing about it is that I got to drive around that car for about 6 years, and the insurance company is going to pay me probably $16,000 less than what I paid for it.
Of course.
Which means that I drove around that car for 6 years for $16,000. I'm like, well, cool. I'm good with that. I'm very good with that. Now, part of me wants to actually go ahead and have it salvaged and repaired because a friend of mine has a body shop. So I'd like to see if he can actually fix it on the low, so I can have a second vehicle to drive around. That would be my second vehicle.
Okay, I'm sure the insurance company isn't listening, but yes, I think that would be a great
Yeah, I think so, as the second vehicle. But I don't think Doris is terribly happy with my choice of replacement cars. Yeah, replacement cars.
Happy with the original?
She was somewhat, she was, but this one's much faster, and she doesn't like. She was like, "Why does anybody need a car with 1,000 horsepower?"
I know, right? I mean, you could only go 70 on the highway. What are you?
It's not about how fast you go; it's about how quickly you get there.
You could only go 70 on the highway.
There's some wisdom in there somewhere. It doesn't matter how fast you go; it's how quick you get there. Interesting. I'm gonna have to explore that one time.
The battle isn't given to the swift.
Yeah, but or to the strong, but to the one who endures to the end. So there's a lot of people that start this race and they go the wrong direction and they never get there, or it takes them a long time to still get there. So it's not about how fast you go; it's just how quickly you get to the end, and that you do get to the end.
That you get to the end.
That you're going to get to the end. But those of us that are competitive are concerned about how quickly we get to the end too. We don't like wasting time.
Well, speaking of speed, Sha'Carri Richardson, which I probably said her first name wrong, but just won the 100 meters. So she's the U.S. national champion in track and field. And I say that to say because, she couldn't go to the Olympics because she tested for an illegal substance, and so, or banned substance, I should say.
Yes.
Banned substance.
Let's call it that. It's not illegal some places.
It's been quite the roller coaster for her, but she won and is going to Worlds, and I think she had hit a world record in her run to. I'm not sure which day was today or yesterday because I think it's in New York, but I'm not sure where they're running right now. But anyways, yeah.
Good for her. She's gotten there, at least so far, to this part. We'll see where it goes next.
She didn't get there the first time, so but she endured, persevered, and here she is. So
just stay away from those banned substances.
Yes.
And, woman. Woman, I know you would say it wouldn't be the same if she were a man, though.
I mean, you said it, so I don't need to say it, right? I'll let those words come out of your mouth.
Exactly. That's the way we do things. But anyway, that's what's going on in my world, and apparently, congratulations to Carrie and her recent accomplishments. And so there are all types of accomplishments going on. How did you celebrate the 4th? Did you celebrate the 4th?
Oh, I was gonna say I don't think I really celebrated too much because again I worked and I did catch up on work. It was a good week to catch up on some work. I'll give it that, even though it was nonetheless a sad week, but I caught up on some work, and so that was what I was doing on the 4th. And it rained for the most part here, and so there were still fireworks going off and till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know about what they were doing in Nashville, but the fireworks seemed endless on that night, the night before, and the night after. So
we didn't have very many fireworks around where I live, at least. I mean, there were still some people that were doing some, but they started early in our subdivision. I think the high school, which we could see from our backyard, had a wonderful fireworks display starting on Sunday or Saturday or Sunday. And then on Tuesday, I don't even know what they did. This was the first time in a while that I've been in town. Doris actually did go up to Cincinnati. Her brother usually cooks out for the 4th. And we usually are not here because our subdivision usually has a huge fireworks display. So we miss it every year. This year, we're going to catch it because it occurs this evening. So they're doing it way after the 4th.
oh, nice.
I'm like, wow, that's interesting.
I know some people did it the weekend before, right? But hey, I guess the weekend afterwards.
I guess so. It doesn't matter how far afterwards it is. It was interesting. A friend of mine said something, there was a string that we were in, everybody saying Happy Independence Day. And she said, happy 19 days after Juneteenth.
Someone should put happy made up holiday. I mean, apparently that was the criticism of Juneteenth anyways.
Oh, but it's interesting that, I wonder how many people actually, and what the mindset is about people regarding celebrating Independence Day, because you realize that wasn't our independence as Black people. That was not our independence. And because everybody else was free from Britain, but we weren't free from slavery at some point. You weren't independent. We were not independent. And I'm trying to remember who it was who, I want to say it was Frederick Douglass, who had this quote on Independence Day. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was kind of heavy there. And if I can find it sometime soon, then I would pull it up real quickly. But
well, and to be honest, it's not even the accurate date for America's independence. If you're being honest, I mean, that wasn't the last sign. It was the day a lot of people signed, but that wasn't the last person didn't officially sign on that day.
Right.
So that isn't even an accurate day. That's why I mean, again, I'd say it's made up just like any other. But how we identify or define freedom is going to be different from each person, because, like you said, we weren't free. And I'd imagine there were still other people that were like women and other minorities that were also still not quote unquote free. But that's the date that's someone said, let's make this one the one that Congress wants to acknowledge. And so that's where we are.
Yeah. Well, his quote was, he said, "What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year, the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham." I was like, wow. And so, I said, "Ooh, go ahead and tell it." So now I'm wondering how many of us are no longer really we're all going to celebrate the 4th of July because it's a holiday. It's good time to barbecue and good day to be off. Although there are a lot of people who are not off on Juneteenth as well. So maybe only Black people should be off on Juneteenth. Maybe they should change that a Black people holiday, because they were going to say that's the holiday that y'all celebrate.
Well, no, because white people need to celebrate that they finally let us free. No, just kidding. Oh no, because I mean, again, back to that quote that was it Frederick Douglass? I mean, hey, what does it mean? Because even and we saw with the affirmative action decision, even since that date, since Juneteenth, I mean, it was clear that it was still going to take a lot of dismantling to get to the point of equal opportunity, which, I mean, I hate to get back onto that rant that we talked about last time, but which begs the question if we are even there now. So
yeah, well, we won't say happy Juneteenth to some people, just say lamentable Juneteenth to you. Because I know you want to go back and make America great like that again. In your mind, how it was great, but lamentable Juneteenth. But anyhow, I'm going to celebrate the July 5th. I am grateful that we are freed from July 4th. Did I say June? July
July
10th.
5th. You just brought up a whole nother date.
Well, July, I'm gonna always celebrate a day late because because our independence didn't happen then. So no, but I want to celebrate on July 4th because I am grateful that we are an independent nation and that we do get to enjoy the freedoms and the liberties that we do, no matter how challenged they are and how many times they're taken away from us, how many times they're regulated indiscriminately. Or discriminately, I should say, discriminately regulated and or seized from us. I'll continue to be grateful for the liberties and the freedoms that we do have.
Well, it's interesting. This is hopefully will transition to our topic, but did you hear Jill Scott sing a different version of that national anthem?
I did not.
Well, I'm trying to rush it right there because it just came to me, and I'm like, I've got to pull up the lyrics to that song because I saw it on Twitter. So here it goes. Oh, say, can you see by the blood in the streets that this place doesn't smile on you, colored child, whose blood built this land with sweat in their hands, but will die in this place and your memory erased. Oh, say, does this truth hold any weight? This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slaves.
Mm.
And she said it. She did it in song to the national anthem.
Oh my! I'm sure at Essence Fest this year.
Yes,
oh
at
my!
Essence Fest. So it went viral, although it clearly missed your handle. But yeah,
yes, it did. I don't listen to this insurrectionist type thing. Oh my!
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of backlash she's going to catch from that, because a woman, especially a Black woman, can't go around saying and doing what she wants to say just willy-nilly without somebody coming in and establishing some type of constraints on her.
Oh, there was a lot of backlash as it relates to everything in Essence Fest, even some July 4th. I saw a lot of backlash from the Macy's fireworks parade because there were a lot of Black artists that were taking a stand after the affirmative action decision. I saw so many MAGA Twitter folks saying, oh, this is the worst Macy's fireworks parade ever, and all this kind of stuff. And again, to your point, it was a lot of Black women were asked to perform for the Macy's fireworks, but Essence Festival, it was. I don't doubt that there's been a lot of backlash, but there's also been a lot of support for what Jill Scott did. And hopefully it just keeps the conversation going, because this is clearly something we need to continue to talk about as history is being erased.
Yeah, one of our viewers says she's been singing that for years now, but it's amazing to hear, she says. But I wonder, at some point, when is too far, too far? Which brings us to our topic today, Women Thou Art Too Loose. We understand TD Jakes always has this conference talking about woman thou art loosed, and meaning that you are freed now. You are not held bondage by a bunch of other things, whatever those things may be. They may have been things from your past. They may have been glass ceilings. They may have been other familial restrictions and obligatory type restrictions, things that you have to do. Woman, you are not bound by those. And I can imagine that throughout the generations, particularly here in America, all women have probably, and maybe not just in America, but across the globe, women have felt oppressed throughout the ages. And just like any person who has been, any human being who has been oppressed for a long period of time, when the shackles are finally loose, they then go out and they exercise that freedom. And sometimes the exercise of that freedom might be just a little bit too much. And so the question is just a little too much.
Depending on who's watching, right?
Depending on who's watching, and depending on, I guess maybe depending on who's watching. But sometimes there can be some limits that are just crossed regardless of who's watching or who's not watching.
Well, and to that then, because, we can talk about the Christian standard. And just to give some context for our viewers, so we saw this past week, Keke Palmer went to Usher's residency up in Las Vegas. And she had a nice little see-through outfit on, even though I guess my bias.
Nice.
All right, it was a see-through outfit, but under was a bodysuit, so you couldn't see any private parts showing. And so Usher, as part of his residency, he usually serenades some celebrity that's in the audience. And this time Keke was there, so he serenaded her. And some people say there was a little bit of a quote unquote bump and grind, to use somebody who I won't name lyrics. And her baby's father, I'm not sure if they're still together or not, because I heard he has removed pictures of her from his Instagram, posted a tweeted about how he did, essentially, I don't have the tweet in front of me, but essentially he didn't approve of her attire, given that she is a mother, and felt like it was disrespectful and not appropriate. And so backlash ensued. A lot of people,
as it always does.
As it always does. Thank you for social media. A lot of people went to her defense, and it just made me think of, and now my phone is acting like it doesn't recognize my face, but it made me think of, what does the Bible say? Because to your point, I think a lot of people start there in terms of where quote unquote oppression of women initiated. And I'm not saying that's where it's from, but I'm saying I do know people use the Bible to oppress several groups, including women. And I found this verse, and I want to get your thoughts as we also talk about some of the other events affecting women this week. And so this is taken from 2 Timothy chapter 2, and I'm starting at verse 8. And it says, "Therefore, I want the men everywhere to pray, lifting up holy hands without anger or disputing. I also want the women to dress modestly, with decency and propriety, adorning themselves not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes, but with good deeds appropriate for women who profess to worship God. A woman should learn quietness and full submission. I do not permit a woman to teach," and this is Paul talking, "I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. For Adam was formed first, then Eve, and Adam was not the one deceived. It was the woman who was deceived and became a sinner.
Preach.
Men will be saved through childbearing if they continue in love, faith, and holiness with propriety." And again, this is not Jesus talking, for all those men out here that like you that are like, "Hey, man, that is not."
Sounds like the inspired word of God to me.
That is Paul. But again, as we talk about those words that are used, we're talking about decency, modestly, appropriate for women who profess to worship God. I mean, those are all, to some degree, perspectives. They're subjective terms. And so, we part of Essence Festival, again, you had Janelle Monáe, who exposed one side of her breast. You had Megan Thee Stallion, who was twerking, and you had India.Arie, who was critical of both. And so, and she made it clear that she says, "My criticism is not to tear them down. I respect them. I consider them women that I admire and essentially appreciate." But she says there is a time and a place. And she felt like that was not the place. She says the issue is, what is context? Humanity does everything, but does everything belong on a stage? No. It's everything for kids? No. It's everything for everybody? No. She goes on to say it showed a lack of discretion and discernment as it related to Janelle Monáe and Megan Thee Stallion. So what is this? I mean, I feel like we have entered a world, and look, you're like, I can't speak because I'm a man, but I feel like
oh, don't you be deceived by that, because I will speak.
But men spoken. I mean, you saw Marjorie Taylor Greene got ousted from the Freedom Caucus, and
just getting too loose. Calling that lady a little B.
And they said you took it too far. You had loose
time.
Before. I know you've had loose lips before, but this is, but they were also asked, "Hey, did this have anything to do with her alignment with McCarthy as it related to the debt?" And they said, "Oh, sure, I'm sure it was a combination." But the tip on the iceberg was he said to this other person. And so, you had that. And I've, as someone who does employment law, I see all the time employers trying to regulate dress codes, or using dress codes to regulate men and women. So not just women, but at the same time, with the women, I recall there was a court case, and this was out the Fourth Circuit, and it was a charter school in which the girls were told, "Hey, you cannot wear skirts." The charter school had a policy for everyone. Boys had to wear certain attire. They couldn't wear jewelry. They couldn't have their hair like long and whatnot. And girls could not wear a skirt. I mean, could not wear pants and shorts unless it was like gym or whatnot. But for the most part, with skirts. And the head of the school, or at least the person who was defending this position, he said, well, it's because the school is wanting to restore the traditional values. They want to preserve chivalry and respect among young men and women, and felt that by ensuring that the women wear skirts, that they were going to be treated with mutual respect, not only by other women, but also by their male colleagues. And so, I mean, it also goes into that question, you know, how you dress, is that what you're then saying, how you want to be treated from a guy? If I'm twerking, does that mean I don't want mutual respect? No. You know, if I wear pants, does that mean I'm not asking to be treated with the respect of a woman? I don't know if I subscribe to that, but it forms an interesting conversation.
It does. I do think that you dress, the way that you dress can't help but to inspire or project a certain demeanor or characteristic about yourself. One of the things that we can do to most openly express our individuality is change our appearance. You know, we can wear tattoos, we can wear big hair, we can wear small hair, we can wear our hair pulled back, we can wear wigs, we can wear tight clothes, loose clothes, we can wear professional attire, we can wear hoochie shorts and everything else. We can do a whole bunch of things.
Well, you just aged yourself. I haven't heard hoochie in a while.
Hoochie shorts. Exactly. Well, that's something I've heard them call, because men are now wearing what they call hoochie man shorts or something. These really short shorts or whatever. That was a new term that I heard. I said hoochie man shorts. But you can wear all kinds of things that really convey to people who don't know you what I'm about. And that's the only way that you can project to somebody who doesn't know you those things that you're about. And if what you're wearing suggests that you are salacious and that you are free and you're available, or you're loose morally, if your clothes suggest that, then what do you expect people to perceive? Should they not believe what their eyes are showing them, and that you intentionally created for your eyes to show them, for their eyes to show them?
To be clear, to me, you should subscribe to, you treat everyone how you want to be treated in any regard. And so I don't care what a guy has on or what a girl, I mean, and I will even say this, even if I see a guy brandishing a gun, that would instill a lot of fear in me, and by virtue of fear, I guess respect, you know, how I should treat this person regardless of what they come to me. And so I say that to say, how someone dresses isn't signaling how they are asking you to treat them. I would say I agree with the concept. It is signaling of a personality trait that they're trying to show you. And so, but at the same time, just because I'm wearing, like, I'm out the beach wearing a bikini, doesn't mean I'm trying to show you that I'm trying to entice you to come touch me. It just means I'm out at the beach wearing a bikini.
Well, that's context. So then that's still context. But if you walk into a church wearing a bikini,
It's context. If I show up in the church with a bikini and my cover up, to me, now I can definitely understand if someone takes that as a level of, okay, she's disrespecting the house of the Lord, or they're taking it as a level of, hey, she's trying to draw attention to herself. But to take it as a level of, hey, she's saying I can go out and rape her, or hey, she's saying I can go out and just grab up on her. And I mean, rape is extreme, but or go out and approach her about having sex. I would say that's taking it too far. You are still responsible for how you react and how you treat people.
You know, to a large extent, I agree with you. To some extent, I do believe that if you present yourself in a certain way, it's how you want to be perceived. How you want to be perceived should, on some level, reflect how you want to be treated. And if you say how I want to be treated is different from how I want to be perceived, then there's this dichotomy going on in your psyche somehow that needs to be addressed. Because granted, you always should be, and in most cases, there should be some congruence between how you want to be perceived and how you want to be treated. If you want to be perceived as a snob, then you're going to want to be treated, you know, as like, don't approach me any kind of way. If you want to be perceived as, you know, cool, hey, you know, home down person, then it's okay with somebody, what's up, Slim? I don't even know if they say Slim anymore.
Once again, I'm learning the ways of the old folks.
I've been out the game for a long time now, so I wouldn't even know how to approach. I have to approach them with dignity, and I have to say, "Good evening, lady." Good evening. Good evening. How are you? You're
He was
looking
like,
lovely.
that girl walk in with that bikini at the church of service. Good evening, lady. Would you like to sit next to me? Is that how you're gonna respond?
I'm not going to say, "Come sit on my lap." I will not say that, though. But yeah, I think that we do let ourselves off the hook to, or let other people, particularly, and as we're talking about today, we let women off the hook too much for not saying that their behavior and or their attire do invite certain activities, and it dissuades certain activities as well, and certain behaviors. And you have to, as a woman, I think, learn the difference between which activity and which type of attention is this going to attract, what kind of attention is it going to dissuade. And if your demeanor, your attire all dissuades, someone from coming up and inappropriately approaching you, then, and if that's what you desire, then you learn how to perfect that.
I don't know if any woman is walking around saying, I desire a man to just randomly come up and touch me or grope me. I don't care what outfit they have on.
But there are some of them who will want, when they walk past, they want them to be like, they want men to give that look, like, hey. So you want us to look, but not touch.
There's a difference between, wanting to be acknowledged or recognized as attractive, versus wanting to be recognized as like someone that is like, quote unquote,
sexual,
hit it and quit it, or someone that's, that is loose. Maybe I should use the term we're using as our subject line. And I don't know. I just imagine and I'm not saying this as a woman. I mean, even though I am a woman, but I don't want to speak for all women. I imagine, back to the original point, I imagine sometimes people wear clothes for more of a personality, to showcase their personality. So even if I see like the Keke Palmer, what she had on, first of all, she's a celebrity. She's at a concert. And she's also just like, I'm sure to some degree, promoting the fact that, hey, I've got my new show out. I'm friends with Usher. I can have a good time. And yes, even though I'm a mom, I'm still able to have fun. I don't have to limit my identity to being a mother. And so, in that context of obviously what her baby daddy saw was, oh, you should be a mother. Whereas I'd imagine to some degree she's saying, yes, I'm a mother, but I'm also still having fun. I'm also still a celebrity. I'm also still have a life that is separate, or at least not wholly determined or identified by my identity as a mother.
Yeah, but there should be some things take priority over others. And so you can dress a certain kind of way when you're a single woman. But when you
really,
yes.
What about men? Can y'all dress a certain kind of way when you're single?
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
I didn't realize once you become married, hey, these are the wardrobes that's now.
There are some things that you should and should not wear as once your roles change. As an actress, you have a lot of latitude. But when you become a married actress or actor, then that latitude lessens. When you become a married actress with a child, now aka a mother, then some of those latitudes change, because your actions and your attire, your presentation to the world does not just affect you. It affects and reflects you. It affects the network who's now operating your show. It now affects your husband and whatever responses that he now has to deal with. It now affects your children and what they have to deal with, because say they go to school and say, yeah, I saw your mama dressed like a skank. Oh yeah, I'd like to really hit your mama or whatever. I'd like to smash your mom. No kids want to hear that kind of stuff coming from their boys, unless of course you're Jada Pickett's son. And then it's okay.
They got psychedelics in there.
Because then you can say, I did hit you, I did smash your mom. So, but kids don't want to hear that kind of stuff.
And maybe you can help me understand. What gets me to say is, okay, you courted her based on how she was dressing as this single person. You can pass it on to her employer. You decided to bet on this woman based on how she presented herself during her time being single. And so to say, oh, I love you, I've liked you, I've been attracted to you based on how you present yourself here. But now that I've married you, or now that I've employed you, or now that I have established whatever kind of relationship with you, I then need you to change all the stuff that I liked about you. That then becomes a little confusing.
Well, there's a different story. When you're looking for a job, you put your resume out there, right? Once you got the job, why are you still putting your resume out there? Because you're looking for a better job. You're looking for another opportunity. And so if you I might have picked up and liked your resume as a woman when you were looking for the job called MRS, required an MRS degree. When you were looking for that job, if you still putting your resume out there, what it's saying to me is that you're still looking. And you're still looking for something that you might.
She met you, she wasn't put her resume out there. I mean, she was just being her. And you just were attracted to it, but she was just being her. And that attracted you to her. And she's like, well, I'm gonna just keep being me. I mean, if anything, I would imagine an employer, once they get that resume, they like, you better stick to this resume. You better not change and get worse. And they want you to stay aligned with that.
Yeah, I want you to stay aligned with it, but just have that for my eyes only. For my eyes only. At some point, when you say I do, that means you're saying something I will no longer do some things.
Oh, that's what you're saying. I will no longer do.
Exactly.
See, all the stuff I need to learn before I ever jump that room.
Exactly. You better put the hoochie mama clothes away.
I gotta get a whole new wardrobe. Will my husband finance this new wardrobe?
Now, I will agree. I will agree. He should not have a problem with free financing your wardrobe, and you guys finding them coming together on some other terms. I like how the Bible says that the woman who is married has no control of her own body, but her husband has control over her body.
I'm sure there are a lot of passages in the Bible that you like to relate to this.
I will say that it says the same thing about the man. It says the man who is married no longer has control over his own body, but the woman who has control over it. And so therefore, when you enter into a marital covenant, then your concern is not just about how I can please myself, but also how I can please and represent my spouse. And if your desire to dress a certain in a lascivious way, lascivious, how about that? If you desire to dress in such a way that draws disrepute to your husband, then I have a challenge about how much do you really love your spouse? How much are you willing to sacrifice your own desires to make sure that your husband is also pleased? Or same situation with a woman. How much do you, if it made my wife uncomfortable for me to walk outside in some biker shorts and a tight, muscle shirt or something, because women would be ogling over me as they would do. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that because
we can't even keep a straight face on that hypothetical. But go ahead.
Maybe 25 years ago they would have still, but hey, but I'm getting buffed back up. I'm getting back. I'm bringing sexy back again. So, but if I wore those types of clothes and it made my wife uncomfortable because of the way it made other women look at me, my obligation as a husband is to honor my wife and say, well, let me tone down these clothes, even though it might be something that I wore that attracted her in the first place. Even though it may be something that I wore not to attract her, but because I liked being able to show my body off and showing whatever I look like. And usually when people do that, it's just to get attention anyway.
Look at you.
That's my own belief. That's my own belief, because we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that, but it's still my responsibility as a spouse.
That's another topic that I want to make sure, since we brought up her, I don't want people to think that there's no criticism of particularly the manner in which you went about criticizing her. I mean, because I think that is a private conversation. And so if you did have a problem with something your spouse did, I would not suggest you go on Twitter or go on social media and broadcast your problem. I suggest you talk to your spouse about it. And
well, didn't she do it in public?
Yeah, she's been in the public eye forever, and she
But
would
she
say,
wasn't
"I'm
in the
doing
public eye and
this
half naked
to
forever.
offend my husband," or no, it's not even her husband. She's not saying I'm doing this to offend my baby daddy. She's saying, "Hey, I'm out here. I'm a celebrity having a good time with I'm supporting a friend of mine who is doing a concert, and she's wearing an outfit that, to me, is not anything surprising that any celebrity would probably throw on and go to a concert to make sure. And part of being a celebrity is
That's surprising to me.
whatever. Part of
I'm
being a
surprised you got
celebrity is
such
showing
loose
attention to
morals
yourself.
like this.
Whatever. And so he should, to me, that should have been a private conversation among them two. But even in that, if you had this conversation with your spouse and she says, in response to you saying, "Hey, it really offends me," or whatever, and she says, "Oh, I didn't realize that these clothes just make me feel good about myself. I feel comfortable in these clothes. I enjoy the fact that to some degree people show a level of attention that I appreciate." And I know in your mind, it's probably attention you don't want them, but for her, it may be, "Hey, they're listening to me. I mean, if I didn't wear this, they walk right on past me and I can't, establish my opinion in a room or in a."
So what you're saying is that I need to use my body to get people to pay attention
But
to me.
what I'm saying is the two of you can have that conversation so that no one's values or no one's position is being compromised in that realm.
I agree. That's a conversation that should happen privately. It happened publicly for a reason. The reason why is because he was publicly embarrassed and he felt the need to.
He publicly felt embarrassed, but no one
Yes.
was embarrassing him publicly. Okay.
Well, it's
Internal.
if my baby mama, and if I'm still with her, goes out dressed like that, then she has embarrassed me publicly. And I will concede this. It's a small man who has to go ahead and retaliate publicly in order to save face. But the reality of it is that some people most men will be tempted to, if the action was taken publicly, for the reaction to be public as well, because there's so much effort to try to save face and regain respect. And the reality of it is that I think you probably lose more respect even just by doing that. But it's hard to resist that temptation to respond publicly when every action deserves an equal and opposite reaction. So if the action was public, the reaction seems likely or seems logically to be public as well. It's probably not the best decision to make, but
he made it nonetheless and received the backlash from that.
But let's get to the heart. Let's get to the meat of this. Now, you say this is something that you would expect a celebrity to wear. I don't expect a celebrity who's married and or has children to wear such a thing. I don't expect any person who's in the public eye and who has a public influence to wear something like that. Why would a Black woman present herself in such a way? Yeah, because I'm a Black man, so even a white woman, whatever. But
my scripture said woman. My
yeah,
scripture threw a Black woman up in
there. I have a higher expectation of my Black.
That's what it is.
Yes, I expect my Black sisters to comport themselves in a much more dignified manner.
When you think of married celebrities, I mean, Beyonce, she would definitely wear. It probably does wear stuff like that in her.
Why?
Again, to me, there's, and I imagine there's a conversation that she had with her spouse, but she came into this situation as a celebrity, doing exactly what she is doing now. So to think that she's going to switch just because she's married when she has obtained this level of wealth and status, doing exactly what it is that attracted him to her. I don't know. I don't understand why there's an expectation that a celebrity is going to switch it on you just because they're married.
My question is, why do it in the first place? Because we understand that sex sells in America. Sex sells. And if you dress revealing clothes, that accentuates all of your sexy parts. That it is going to help.
Talk about the men on another podcast.
Hey, Pretty Lady with those sexy parts. I'm gonna have to write a song on that one, Lady with the Sexy Parts. But if there's a mentality, and for decades, generations, sex has sold in America. Be it right or wrong, I happen to think that it's wrong to market sex to use that. That's the reason why we're in the situation where we're in today, was that so many people are overly focused on sexuality, and myself included. I I will say that I'm way too sexually minded there, but I understand. But I understand the influence and how that is. It's a ploy of the enemy to try to ensnare you, and as a result, I'm aware of his devices and how he can easily get me pulled into a trap. And so I avoid those traps because I recognize that it's out there. But I don't think a woman should have to sexualize herself in order to be successful, especially not one with the talent that Beyonce has. Why do you have to dress that way when you have the vocal talent that you currently have that is unparalleled by anybody else in this country? Why? Because you started out that way because you probably thought that was one of the things that was going to give you an edge up, a leg up. The problem is when both of the legs go up.
I want to look on my concerts. Maybe she said, "Hey, I like Tina Turner."
But why?
Maybe she picked an artist and said, "Hey, I like how they are entertaining the masses, and that's what I want to do."
But the question is why?
To me, the question, and I hear you, but to me, the question still remains of why does that have to then say that she is inviting inappropriate behavior or inviting the concept of being disrespected? Because again, if she's looking at her role models that she respects by virtue of, wanting to be mentored by them and the like, to then suggest that, well, if you follow what they're doing, you are essentially saying you don't want that respect. You don't want to be successful in this industry. I don't see how that then correlates to that.
Well, if you're looking at your role model and you're emulating that person, don't you think that your children look at you as a role model?
They do.
And what type of behavior then are you trying to emulate?
Right on that stage with her.
Exactly. So
a couple of weeks ago.
Why? So what's happened is that our morals have gotten so loose that each generation will get even looser.
Her morals is loose, and that's what I'm trying to, I guess, like talk about, because again, I think the backlash is that Keke Palmer's boyfriend received is, no, that's you perpetuating a stereotype on her. That's you defining her based on what she has on. She's not saying
that's the Bible defining it. That's the Bible. That's the Bible defining it. You read in 2 Timothy.
Again, but at the end, I said those terms are subjective terms. Modesty, decency, those are subjective terms.
And we all know that today, the way that to wear a bodysuit that's see-through, or a dress that is see-through, is not modest.
The bodysuit itself was a see-through. Again, you cannot see her private parts.
It was still. It was
also indicative of how little men know about women's clothing.
Well, the problem is that women's clothing is changing so much such that modesty is a shifting standard. What was modest before is no longer modest. Now the new standard of modesty is not modest at all, but it just becomes looser and looser with each generation. And if what happens is each generation, oncoming generation, is looking at the previous one to gauge what that level of modesty should be, they're going to push it to the next level. They're going to push it to, well, let me be a little less modest. Let me be a little bit more revealing. Let me be a little bit more successful, because I know that the more revealing I am, the more successful I am. And one of our viewers said, if you know that sex sells, you know why they do it. That's the point.
She said you answered your own question, huh?
Exactly. You answered your own question. I know that was the answer.
That's what your answer was. I mean, because again, I'm not saying just because you're wearing a bodysuit, you're selling sex. Again, you could be selling the fact that you're fit. There are how many fitness instructors wear their sports bras and their little tight pants, and they're saying it to say, hey, if you work out, put in the work, you can have a body similar to mine. And she's also having to dance. Like, can you imagine dancing in sweatpants? I mean, I think there's to some degree a certain attire that's appropriate for the dance that she is.
Can you imagine dancing in heels?
Concerts. And in
spiked heels?
I know she doesn't do it. But again, but to me, then she's saying, hey, I am showcasing a character, not like a stripper. You guys are making her all these things. She said my character is just
Why did you automatically come straight to
who's
stripper
able to sing and dance, someone who is able to
and climb a pole,
hyped up, you know, and then if anyone tried to rush at the stage to then grab her or grope her, they would be instantly denied and pushed off and beaten accordingly.
So I can tease but don't touch. Tease, what you're saying is that tease but don't touch, which is true.
No,
I agree wholeheartedly. You can tease. I don't care how much you're being teased. It's inappropriate for you to go and touch
and
without.
It's probably more women that go to a Beyonce concert than men. So then this idea that she's really trying to get men to buy her songs is not even correct. I mean, it's probably more women that is buying it than
it's still selling sex. Even women are saying now she becomes a role model for those women. Let me see if I can twerk and do everything that she does, and then I can hopefully gain some of the status that she has. She's a role model. These people in the public eye become role models.
At no point is she saying, if you do this, it is okay for a man to then grope you. Like, to me,
we established that. We established that. There's no, I mean, let's not go back to that one. But there is a certain way that it is saying, you know, it is not saying, man, you will respect me when you dress, regardless of when you dress that way, you will respect me in all ways. And I can disrespect you without touching you. I
think that is the movement that is happening with this, is that, hey, no, I'm going to dress however I want to dress, and you will respect me. I think that is part of the movement of why they are then dressing or pushing that needle to say, and I dare you to did not then respect me.
I'm gonna tell you, it's not working if that's the case.
Look at you. I think again, he got a lot of backlash.
It's not.
He got a lot of backlash.
He is, but that's because of the decadence of our society. Our society is on this moral decline, such that yes, sure, everybody should be able to do whatever they want to do, feel how they want to feel, and show what they want to show, and still be considered virtuous. That's not a virtuous woman. You cannot expect to be treated like a virtuous woman when you dress like a hoochie mama. Proverbial dot, quote number 1.
The beehive is coming. That's all I can say. The beehive.
I'm just saying. She's excellent at what she does. She is excellent, top of the field, no doubt about it. But I'm always concerned about what are the unintended consequences of our behaviors today. What impact is that having on our children tomorrow? And unfortunately, there are too many young Black girls who are, and I'm thinking about Black because I'm a little bit partial about it, and I've got a little Black daughter as well, who I don't want to look at all this sensationalization of the media and of entertainment to say, you know, a woman's value is trapped up in what she shows in her body. And no, your value is much more than what your body displays as your value. And I want to teach my daughter, don't be influenced like that. You have far many more talents and far much more intelligence and ability than to have to demean yourself by dressing in a way that causes men to get attention, give you the attention based off of your body. Get attention another kind of way. Get the attention based off of your intellect. Get the attention off of your talent, and let the focus there be on them. And then you can still exert a higher moral authority. You can have influence. In fact, I don't believe that influence is given and favor is given to people for us to partake of it. I think influence is given so that you can impact other people around you, and favor from God is given so that you can positively influence other people around you to aspire to the same level or higher level than you are. And I'm thinking kingdom minded. So and you can't do that when you're dressing like Beyonce or wearing a see-through.
And I don't disagree with that. I'm sure you and several of the fathers who are raising daughters have that same mindset. I would just say, because again, I respect the mindset. At the same time, you're sending a message that Beyonce or Keke is not getting respected or is not getting treated or looked at as an intellectual person, because when you look at both of these people, they are getting a lot of respect. And it's not just about the fact that they've got support because you've got a boyfriend back saying some pretty bad things about what she wore, so receiving backlash, but also they're getting roles. they're getting people spending hundreds, thousands, millions. They're getting sponsorships, or
Why?
they're getting
Yeah, why?
again, because you said it earlier, they're talented. They're talented in
It ain't just because of
and
that,
people
because they're dialing it, they're
there's-
talented, and because they're succumbing to
there's a difference between a pornographic actress or porn star and an actress who is maybe going to get like an Oscar or more nominations at a quote unquote respectable or industry led award show. Keke Palmer is not going to be considered a porn star because of what she wore. I mean, she still is going to be able to find work in the field in which she's on, because they still recognize her as a talent. So to suggest that, oh, if you dress this way, you're completely erasing or obliterating your intellect, I would just caution against telling a woman that.
I wouldn't say completely, but you're diminishing it. You're diminishing it because something else gets the attention more than your intellect and more than your talent. Right now, it's your body that's getting that attention. And if your body gets more attention than your other talents.
The girl walks in the room and she's pretty, that's the instant attention that she's going to get from y'all anyways. Like,
that's the reason why we don't want our babies to wear.
But the minute I walk into a room, all they see is my beauty. I gotta then exert how smart I am.
That's the reason why we don't want our daughters being trained by their mothers to dress like a hoochie mama.
Trained by their mothers.
Yeah, basically, I mean, or maybe not trained, but inspired.
Manager was her dad. Last time I checked.
let's be not trained, but inspired by their mother to dress salaciously. So, you know, I just don't see that. I think there's so many more things that we should be highlighting, so many more talents and abilities that we should be highlighting, much more than the body. And now the question is, and I'm particular, I don't really like women walking out in these leggings. I think that's even inappropriate. No. You see how those things cut right around in the crouch? That's ridiculous.
You, Mark, leggings?
Yes, I think it's inappropriate to be able to, if I can see your camel toe through your clothes, there's a problem.
Okay, fine. They have leggings but a long shirt. Is that better?
It's better. It is better. But I don't think that women should be walking around and they're, you know, you can see that they got no panties on because they got these leggings on, and you see their booties
looking. I can't tell.
And you can see their booties just shaking right in there. You can see because there's no panty line. The leggings are so tight that you can tell if they shaved or not. So that's a problem. I have a problem with that because it should not be. Why would a woman? Well, I wear them because they're comfortable. Come on now, you know, the minute you wear those things out with as much booty as you got, that there's going to be some men that when you walk past, they're going to look. And that on some level, the reason why you're doing it is because you want the men to look when you walk past.
That's the thing. I'm like, men are going to look regardless of what I have on.
No.
Y'all don't look.
I mean, yeah, but they are. But you don't have to. You don't have to tell them to look.
I mean, to suggest that you have to avoid a man's stare, that's impossible. And nor do I am going to look at my outfits to see, okay, which one will at least not have them groveling for hours.
One of our viewers said that you're the problem, Sonia. It was a female, so I'm sure it wasn't directed towards you. It says you're the problem. I'm like, oh, I don't even know what that means, but but the issue is, no, men are men. Men are going to be men all the way. We will follow a woman to death in hell. Adam is the first example of that. He knew he shouldn't have bit that fruit, but guess what? The reason why he bit it was not because he was tempted by the devil. He bit it because he was tempted by the woman. And so women has always been the weakness of men. And women know that. And so as a result, women, I think, exploit that just by saying, okay, I'm going to... Our
mission to exploit your weakness.
Not your mission, but it is
our perfect voice.
It is certainly a tactic. It is certainly a tactic in the way that you exert power. And I think it's because women have been oppressed by men so long. The way that they exert their power is by saying, hey, listen, I got this kind of power over my body. And because it's over my body, I can control you with certain, by the way I dress. I can control you by the way that I reveal my body. And so it's their way, I think, of exerting their own power that they have been denied for since the beginning of time, I guess. But
Mansplaining at its best, huh?
that's my perception. It could be wrong. It could be wrong. And I'm sure it's not.
Well, I mean, again, the fallacy is in your argument is for some women, that don't dress. Like if someone has a sack on, y'all not gonna give her a time of day either. Like if she tries to be an international pop star with a sack on, y'all are not gonna give her the time of day in that respect either. So there's, to me,
if she got the talent. If she got the talent.
Even if she has the talent,
Look
even
at
if she has the talent, y'all aren't going to give her the idea because
SZA is a bad example though, but she's wearing all this stuff and nobody wants to see her in that kind of revealing clothes. But she has made her way. And
who is this?
SZA. Is that her name?
SZA has, I know who you're talking about, but she's dressed similar to a Beyonce. I'm not going to say it's wrong.
I know, but I'm saying, but men not wanting to see her like that. So men are like, come on now, nobody want to see that.
Men, I need to go find this meeting of men.
You need to find out. What you need to do is have more conversations with men about what they really think and when they see women in certain clothes.
But again, and this is, as I said earlier, what is getting the sales are really from the women. Who buying Beyonce is not the men, it is the women. And so who's buying SZA is not the men, it's the women. So if y'all aren't, who cares? Because y'all weren't going to buy it anyways. And so, but that's also my other point on, to think that she's dressed like this to track you when you ain't even buying her albums.
I'm even more concerned because of the influence that she's now having on women, not just the older and mature women, but also the young children.
Confident. Hey, if this is, and again, if a woman doesn't want to dress like SZA but enjoys her music, you're going to knock her for enjoying the music because you feel like that woman is perpetuating the image that SZA is selling.
I think that to whom much is given, much is required. And if you've been given a platform, and an international, national platform where you can be an influencer, you should be influencing young women for elevating the standard, not denigrating it. And what's happened is that each generation that comes around, you see more and more skin. Everybody's pushing the envelope by women. Women are pushing the envelope about how much can I show and get away with. Just think about it. Just even a decade and a half ago, when Janet Jackson was performing at the Super Bowl, and her breast fell out, the backlash that she got right there, and it was
exposed her breast.
But what I'm saying, it was an accident supposedly.
But who exposed her breast?
It was an accident supposedly.
So you made it seem like Janet Jackson is the one pushing his envelope.
No. I'm saying I'm
exposed the breast.
Let me make the full argument. You saw the horror and the uproar that was about her accidentally falling out. And now Janelle Monáe goes and shows her breast intentionally, and she's celebrated for it. And you see how over a period of 15 years, I don't know how long ago it was, but it probably was about 15 years ago when Janet Jackson had the issue, to where it was abhorred, and she herself was apologetic and she was embarrassed by it, to now today it's celebrated because she says, oh, that's liberation, that's freedom, you should be able to do whatever you want to do. We see the trajectory of society in its moral decadence, and we continue to feed it by saying, I'm going to celebrate those women who are liberal and free like this. And I have a problem with that. That's concerning to me.
Well, and I don't know if Janelle Monáe is being celebrated, but I'd imagine she's getting just as much backlash as she's also getting people that are congratulating her. But I also imagine to say that, oh, it's the woman that's pushing the envelope, when again, it was Justin Timberlake, the one that exposed her. And again, men are the ones that are behind the scenes, pulling out the distribution, pulling out the marketing. If you are so offended by what your daughters are going to see, then you should not perpetuate or promote an artist that you don't want your daughters following.
I agree. And on that note, we ought to end it. We agree now, finally.
Well, this is always interesting. Like I said, we're going to have to do another one. We're talking about the men, because there are some men that are pushing some interesting, Lil Nas X, some interesting attire.
He need to quit. This is true. I agree. And I would agree. It could be a quick conversation. I agree with you right now. I agree. He does not need to be promoting this kind of stuff. But I do think that there's a excuse me, there's a huge onus on those people who have been fortunate to be given those platforms to use them for good and not necessarily the decadence of our society. And then you have to realize, yes, it is good to continue to aspire and get more money, but at what cost? And if it means sacrificing the subsequent generations, then hindsight becomes 2020 when you look back and say, man, I can see the trends. And some of those trends started with what I was doing. When you're 65 years old and you start reflecting on those things, you're like, maybe I shouldn't have made that decision at that time. When you see your grandchildren doing,
sells his soul, huh?
Huh?
I said, well, good as a man who sells his soul, huh?
Yes, I agree.
Well, I hope you guys are commenting and letting us know what you think. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can catch us every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Also catch us on your favorite podcast platform and catch a repeat of this episode on Star Radio. Until next time, see you. Have a good week.